Today is May the 10th, 2021. This is the Service Hero Show, 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and I am your host. This is a show where we share inspiring stories of those inspiring others. So let's do this. Today we have one of our favorites. One of our favorite service heroes is back. This woman is known as the Pink Hulk. Yet I know her as Valerie. Many others do too. Yeah, now we are going to be talking about a new show that she has. And let me tell you this. I am so excited about today's show because I believe in family. I believe that what our family has done before, those generational patterns, I've been talking a lot about it in the last month or two. The family, the genealogy, if you will, our family history can shape us into who it is that we are now. And that family history, oftentimes, in some of our darkest hours, can be that bright, shining light that can make a difference. And Valerie David is here today to share with us a bright light and a new show, a solo show that she is taking out. We're going to be talking about that. And as we welcome everybody, I want to say hello to Helene. Helene, my dear, happy Monday to you. And Caroline Berzins, our senior ambassador of the Buddies and the production assistant here for this show and co-host of The Tour of Love. We are live on the E360 TV platform. What does that mean to you? That means you can take us anywhere you want. Just get it on your smartphone, get the app, and you can watch the show live and any of the shows on demand. In fact, this is how you find the app. I am loving this. We have so many people showing up today for this show. I knew you would. Today is going to be an incredible show. Now, I have given a little bit of a hint as to what it is we're going to be talking about. But, however, are you aware that Valerie David is actually a nominated service hero? She is, and I am going to share who nominated her and let her introduce Valerie.
Well, hello there, my beautiful friend, Valerie David. Congratulations as being recognized as a service hero. Who would have known that when we met originally, when you came to Baltimore about 3 or 4 years ago to do your wonderful one-woman show, that you and I would connect and would become the very best of friends. You truly are a hero. You inspire, encourage not just me, but so many others. And your resilience is truly amazing. You know that I always tell you, you are going to Broadway. And I truly mean that. And when you're there, when this is over, Courageous Diva will be right there on the front row cheering you on. Love you bunches. Take care.
Welcome, Val.
Thank you so much for having me back. And another special shout out to Barbara Palmer. Love her. She's the best. And I want to thank her again for nominating me. And thank you for having me back. You You women are stellar. The best.
We're all a part of the same cloth, as they say, the cloth of life, the cloth of
Exactly.
humanity. And I want to shout out to Barbara also. Number one, we love you, and service hero that she is. Also, I want to shout out something that she said about you, that she foreshadowed in many ways. She was like, "You're going to be on Broadway. You're on Broadway."
I am so excited, and things are really happening now with theaters opening up, and it's just been such an encouraging thing that's happening in New York City, where I am beaming from New York City. And I'm just super excited, and now have a second solo show called Baggage from BaghDAD. And also a shout out to my director, Maris Heller, and I thank her so much. And that picture is of my grandfather, Nissim Isaac David, circa the early 1900s. And you notice that the dad is capitalized DAD, because that is where my father was born. And it's all about their survival and fleeing Iraq in 1941 from a piece of history that we seems to be forgotten, and it was called the Farhud. And would you believe, this June it will be 80 years ago. 80 years ago this year, the anniversary. And the Farhud was an uprising. It was a Middle Eastern pogrom where over 400 Jews were killed. And my family fled that night, Iraq, Baghdad, to start a new life because of the violence that had happened. And they were forced to evacuate. And it's so irrelevant to today, especially now, where there's so much racial intolerance across the board. And it's a reminder that we really need to love each other and accept each other. And this is a story about that.
I am so excited to be talking about this story, and you bringing this story to the stage, and in the pattern that you have gotten to be known throughout the world for having your solo act, for getting out there, being real and raw, if you will, and unapologetically, like out there, because you are. And in doing so, it's just like, before we went live, Caroline Belzins, our production assistant, she was saying, she watches some of your clips over and over and over. And that energy that you take out there, and you're real, being so real and authentic with some information that sometimes people are like, I don't even want to go there. And you're out there. You're out there and making it be known. And the Pink Hulk, let's start there, because the Pink Hulk is who a lot of people, they know you as. I mean, there's your hat, and
yes,
I love it. And the Pink Hulk, tell us about the Pink Hulk.
Yes, well, and the interesting part is that because I've written the Pink Hulk, I thank you for that that graphic. It was Emily Hewitt Photography and Wham Festival Sprinkled Magic, and Rebecca Calant for the logo. We must thank all of the people involved in making all these special graphics. And so the Pink Hulk, the Baggage from BaghDAD show would not have happened without the Pink Hulk. And there's Korea. Oh, that's so sweet. Shout out to Barbara. So that show would not have happened if it weren't for the Pink Hulk, because the strength that I had gotten becoming the Pink Hulk is directly related to my father and my mother and our family, giving me that strength to fight, because they were all fighters and survivors as well when they had to flee Iraq in 1941 with only what they could carry. And my grandmother said, don't worry, we're coming back. And they never did. And they left everything behind. Everything was confiscated, and they never returned to Baghdad. So it was a very traumatic experience for my family, and for what's going on today with people being separated from their families. And one thing that stood out to me is that, my father was 8 years old, and my grandfather that you saw in the picture had to stay behind in Iraq, and he was to join them later, but they weren't sure. And my aunt Denise and my grandmother, and she was pregnant at the time with my aunt Olivia, right before they had to evacuate, my grandfather said to my father, "You're going to have to take care of your sisters now, and you understand me, you are the man of the house now." So imagine being told that at 8 years old. When I was playing with Barbie dolls when I was 8 years old. So it's an incredible journey. And that's why with the dad being in caps, that it surrounds my whole family, and my father, who always instilled in me to be strong. And when I was a little kid, I was bullied. And he always kept saying, you've got to be strong and you've got to stand up for yourself. And he inspired me along with his family as well. From this story, and then my grandmother, when she came to the States, she also had cancer, lymphoma, and she survived in the 1950s when there was only radiation back then. So here am I, when you had asked about the Pink Hulk, it's about me being a 3-time cancer survivor.
Right.
And I said to myself, if my grandmother survived in 1950s with only radiation, was the only one who survived at the hospital with cancer, then I come from good stock. And I'm grateful for that. And why I was inspired by her as well to fight this cancer, and then became a 3-time cancer survivor, having non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, then stage 2 breast cancer, and then stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, where there's now no evidence of disease. And I want to thank my family and my wonderful doctors and my friends for all the support they've given me, including you. And I thank you for that. You've been a great supporter.
Thank you. Let me just highlight that one more time. We need to really highlight, underline, and in bold print: no evidence of disease, stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
Yes.
Not everybody understands what that means, because that's a lot of, if you were terminology that those in the cancer, that have been around cancer now for a few days may understand. What does that mean in plain English?
Yes. What it means in plain English is that stage 4 metastatic cancer means that it left the mothership. So the mothership was the breast cancer that actually was under my armpit, the stage 2 breast cancer. And it's so, I didn't think it was breast cancer that second time I had cancer, because you don't equate your under your armpit as breast tissue, but you have breast tissue all the way to the back.
I know that.
Yeah, right. And you're a survivor too, and I applaud you, and you're an inspiration. So thank you. And so when the breast cancer came back 4 years later, it had metastasized, which means it jumped, it started to travel, and it ended up being in my chest bone and also in my rib cage and abdomen area. So that metastatic means that it's left, Elvis left the building, it's like it left the building. And so it's more serious. It's usually not a good outcome because it has traveled. but we're so lucky that we live in these times where there's
Yes.
so many medications and so many alternatives. And we had talked about this the last time, that in 2018, I started having chest pains, and that's actually where the lymphoma had originated in 1999. I had a tumor in my chest. So I had a bad feeling, and I called my doctor and in September of 2018, and I said, I think I have cancer again. I know I have cancer again. And she said, well, I'm sure it's a pulled chest muscle. And I said, I'd like to think so. And I was coming in for an appointment the next week anyway for a checkup, and lo and behold, it ended up being stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And that is such an important message that I want to tell everybody out there, that your gut will never, ever steer you wrong. And I had this really bad feeling, and I didn't ignore it. That inner voice wasn't quietly speaking to me, it was yelling at me. And it's to, say to ourselves, never, ever deny the instincts that you have. And that's really important. And to pay attention to our bodies. I could have ignored it and thought, oh, it was a chest muscle, but deep down inside, I knew there was something going on. And that's very important, to listen to our inner voice. And then the Pink Hulk tagline is the Pink Hulk, one woman's journey to find the superhero within. So here I was touring the show since 2016. Then I'm diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer the day the show is opening in Portland, Oregon. I get the phone call that yes, it is. And I did not stop having cancer stop me from doing that show that night. And I performed it and performed the whole run. So I didn't want cancer to stop me. And so believe me, and the interesting part was the Pink Hulk is a show that I want to inspire people and empower people. And then all of a sudden I have cancer again. So my own show helped me get through this. And I had to reactivate the superhero within to help me fight this cancer.
And then the no evidence of cancer means, guys, that means they can't find one cell. Not one cell. Not one cell.
She's absolutely right. So when the test came back and I was put on oral medication, and I ended up working on the ad campaign 8 months with this drug, Verzenio, and I was working on its ad campaign, and I was like, well, I don't have metastatic breast cancer, but this seems like a very positive drug for women with metastatic breast cancer. So when I was diagnosed, I asked my doctor if I could be on this medicine when she had offered something else. And she said, whatever you want to do, Valerie. And I said, okay, I want to do it. And then 5 months later, the medicine, and I'm so grateful for, worked. And I have no evidence of disease. And so I want people to know never, ever to give up hope. And the last line of the Pink Hulk, which has 3 different endings, because I had just 2 cancers. Then I was diagnosed with cancer, still performed. Then I had a 3rd ending saying that the cancer was gone. And the last line, and I truly believe this, is never, ever, ever give up hope.
That's right. In fact, I have a clip that we're going to share right now. And from one of your times, they're on the stage. Guys, we're going to have fun. So let's watch this one.
Thank you.
My cancer is my sleeping beauty, and I intend to have her sleep for a very, very, very long time. My cancer is dormant. No trace of it. And my superhero is reactivated. And let me say again, no evidence of disease. And so for all of you out there, you have a superhero inside you too. And I'd like to say, from the bottom of my heart and my bones, particularly these. Never, ever, ever give up!
Thank
You know, every time I see your performances, and I love the clips that we were able to share. And if you haven't seen the Service Hero show, where we went deeper into the Pink Hulk, please look back in March and you'll be able to watch it. It's here on demand on the E360 TV platform. Also, YouTube, Facebook, many different platforms. And so never, ever, ever give up. And then I look at this right here and it's like, yes,
yes,
you know, here we are, that you're sharing another inspirational story. And that's why I just absolutely adore you, Valerie. Because, you know, thank you. Because when you go out there, you have this gusto, this love of life, this larger than life. Then sometimes, you know, your language will even sometimes like shock, like, okay,
yes,
PG-13, you know, and yet your heart to really get into that hope, to say, okay, maybe let's just kick someone in the little tushy, you know, to get out there, if you will, to kind of like get that superpower. Go find your hero within, get that cape, and you know, do, and never, ever, ever give up. And then, ta-da, here we are talking about a generation, a couple of generations ago, where they didn't give up. And oh my goodness, as I am in the middle of my house being upside down, my studio is being ripped apart today after this show, because the carpeting's being removed, and you know, I'm right in the middle of it, and I'm thinking, wow, how long have I been prepping for this? What have I been doing to get moved across only the nation, not across the Atlantic? What am I doing to prepare multiple generations, because we have multiple generations also here, to go on with their life? Some are going with us and some are staying here and continuing. And when I heard your story about your grandfather having to stay, and then your grandmother saying, it's okay, we're leaving right now, we'll come back, we'll just leave it, we'll come back. I'm thinking, this is a story that needs to be told, because I did not know anything about that period in time. And guys, I have a huge library I have now packed up. I know how big it is. And it's all about history books. I love history. I don't believe I have one book about this period of time.
Yes.
What? Say that name again.
Sure. It's the Farhud, Farhud, and it happened in June of 1941. And it was a very dark period. It was a Middle Eastern pogrom. And what happened was Hitler had Mein Kampf translated into Arabic. So then there was a lot of problems with that. And it was, you know, it was a very dark period where the Jewish culture has decimated. I mean, there were over 150,000 Jews living in Iraq in 1941, and no one equates that history with the Jewish people being in Iraq. It's certainly not now. I don't know if there's even double digits of people left. And I was very inspired by Carol Basri, and just saw a documentary that she had called Saving the Iraqi Archives, where in the 2000s, there was a missile that bombed the secret headquarters of Saddam, and they found in the basement all of the Iraqi the Torah's pictures of children. They had taken hundreds and thousands of documents and had them hidden in the basement. So if it weren't for this missile that hit there, they would never have known. And so now there's this, she's someone that I really admire, who is really, her father had founded a school in Baghdad, which was a safe haven for the Jews who had been getting harassed. And, my grandfather, there's a part of the story too, that in 1939, and this was a true story, I didn't know this was going to be a solo show. I was so, like you, I love history, and I documented and filmed my aunt Denise, my uncle Herbert, my cousin Victor, and my father. I have them on videotapes in 2007 and 2006. And extracted these stories. And I said to myself, my father and Victor are the last that were still alive that came from Baghdad. So when they're gone, that history is going to be lost. And I don't want it to be lost. I want it to live on, and I want people to know this history. I want my family to know this history, and my nieces, and and it's so important. And even in 1939, a true story where they were boarding a train to go to Vienna, and there were German officers looking at their passports, and my grandfather's name is Nisik Isaac David. Sounds a bit Jewish. And he started the German officer started screaming, you are Jewish, and they were Nazis. They were Nazis, and on
a train.
And so my grandfather, at the time, Iraq was under British rule, and they all had British passports, which saved them. So my grandfather knew what he was saying. He understood German, pretended he didn't, and he was like in a big British accent, like, I don't understand. And they just started screaming and yelling at him. And this commander, finally this big ruckus looked and said, his passport, and said, they're not Jewish, they're British, leave them be. And so if that commander hadn't have interfered, what would have happened. They would have been hauled off right then and there, taken right then and there, and put into a concentration camp and just taken away. And we would I would not be speaking to you today. So it was, and then they ended up, the story also that my aunt said was that there was, now at this point, with all the arguing and back and forth, there wasn't any room on the train. So the commander was like, put them in my cabin. And so then they were in the cabin of the Nazi commander all the way to Vienna. I don't think, and they were terrified, but yet they were strong. And my grandfather was like, what, I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to, make sure that what my family is safe. And, he was very adventuresome, and, but imagine the trauma. And it was really interesting. And my aunt, when we were talking about, they left everything behind. When I interviewed my aunt, she was in the 70s at the time when I interviewed her. And would you believe, Tamara, that she started crying? She's like, I had a doll, and your grandmother said that I was going to come back for that doll, and I never, I had to leave that doll behind. And to this day, she was crying. She's like, I miss that doll, that I'm still traumatized that, that they, she had to leave her favorite doll. And that I have my teddy bear, in my show, the Pink Hulk. And, that teddy bear is everything to me. It helped me through cancer. It's part of my show. And so just those little details that you can't imagine what the trauma that they've gone through. And when I was little, they wanted to be Americans. They wanted to forget their history. They didn't want us to learn Arabic. And so not until later in life were they able to even talk to us about these stories. And I had no idea that they had gone through all this, because it was hidden all these years. And when they spoke Arabic, I was always mad, because I'm like, they're talking behind my back and I want to know what they're saying. So it's really an incredible story of survival, which is what all of us with cancer and survivors, we're all survivors. There's no difference. We are surviving life-threatening instances in our life, like cancer, then, life-threatening leaving and not knowing what they were going to. And they first went to Bombay, where we had family there. And my grandmother left to her, my aunt Denise and my father, and she was pregnant at the time with some woman when they arrived to Bombay, and was knocking on all the doors to try to find my cousins. It was just,
you don't have cell phones back then.
No,
like, okay.
Yeah, they don't. And they're like, they don't have a GPS, to find out where they live. So It was a really hard time, and it's reflective of the times that we're living in now. And I want this to be an educational piece, not just for people to know about the Farhud, but also a reminder that we need to accept each other and love each other and embrace our differences and not fear them and not have this anger towards people who are different than we are. And I remember even with 9/11, and this is part of the story, that people, with my olive skin and dark hair and dark eyes, I was at the airport, and the person at the airport's like, "Where are you from?" And I knew I was like, because I am Middle Eastern, and I was afraid around 9/11. And I actually told him I was adopted because I was afraid to say what my heritage was. And that's a horrible, horrible thing to have to go through. And before and now it's this resurgence of even more intolerance right now. And so, it's a really difficult time that we're going through, but we need stories like Baggage from BaghDAD to remind us that we can't let history from 80 years ago repeat itself. We can't have World War II happen. We can't have, the George Floyd and all the things that have happened, and we need to be reminded of love. Love is love, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, love is love is love is love. And that's what we need. And so with my cancers, that also inspired me to fight, knowing what my family went through. They were an inspiration to me. My grandfather, my grandmother, my aunts, they inspired me to fight because they fought, and they're survivors. And my grandmother as well, a cancer survivor, and my father is going also through cancer as well. And so, he's fighting it, and at 88 getting chemo treatments, and he's amazing. He's my rock and inspiration. And so is my mom. My mom, is wonderful. She's American. He ended up marrying American. His sisters had arranged marriages, so he kind of broke the mold and chose his own bride.
Love, huh?
So I'm so grateful to my dad, David, and my mom, Rhoda David, and my whole David family and my mom's family. And we're a very strong family, and I'm very grateful and very lucky. And we're reminded by Mother's Day and Father's Day that it is their day, Parents' Day,
Exactly. And thank you for sharing that and going into it and equating it to today, because it's something that right now, even daily, we're reminded in many areas of the world that we are not only living in an intolerance of some human to human interaction, we're in an issue where the disease also a cellular level. We've got something by the name of COVID, a pandemic that's closing down areas again of the world, and what is happening with that? A lot of disruption of families, a lot of disruption. It brings out the evil, and oftentimes that darkness. And anybody that understands 1939, anybody that understands 1941, 1942, that whole area, guys, we're talking Europe. Yes. Hitler, Nazis, the whole thing, economic disruption before that. Then you have the whole, okay, this is what's happening. You have the brown shirts, you have all that stuff going on. Then you have 1942, okay, what happens? Pearl Harbor, we have a whole we've got a lot of different things going on in that period of time where people are like, wow, that was so dark. Well, now it's a matter of attitude. It's a matter of being aware. It's a matter of understanding and learning our lessons from the history of the past and saying, okay, no more. We can. Look at what's happening in the David family. The David family has proven that you can get out. You can change even the way you're talking if you need to in a miracle situation and live through what could be a very scary thing. Keep your head, get through it, get on to that next step. Then also it's passed down generationally to Valerie. Valerie has shown up to her life, and that could have been darkness, but hey, okay, found out, doctor calls, okay, yes, you have cancer, okay, lights, camera, action, let's get on stage and let's do this. And now having the results that you have, again, it's that generational patterns coming through. Yet we can, that's what's so beautiful about the human race and the human family.
Yes.
Is that your generational patterns can be my generational patterns too. I can choose to adopt. You said it. That at one time you said during 9/11, you said I was adopted. Well, I can choose to be adopted too, into the human race family.
Right. And that was out of fear, and Hitler not only targeted the Jews, but homosexuals and gypsies. I mean, it was just same thing that's happening now with, discrimination against a sexual orientation. That was the same thing that was happening, in the world during World War II, so it's just amazing how that happens again, and that how family and just being, that having that strength. And it was interesting because when I got cancer a second time, I remember my cousin David said, we have a lot of Davids in the family. Everyone's named David.
David 1, David 2.
David number 3 said, I'm not worried about you. Look at the stock where you come from. You're going to be fine, And so it was, and even, there was never a question. It was like, you can do this, Valerie. You can beat the odds. And I want to tell people as well with that. And then the fun, really great thing that happened with Baggage from BaghDAD, my director, Maris Heller, who is amazing. She's like, you're going to have to dance. And I was like, okay, I'm an actor who moves well. Right. And so I went on the internet and I started Googling Middle Eastern dancing. And I found my first phone call, Karima Madeira is a Middle Eastern dancer. And I went to Brooklyn to learn she helped me choreograph. She's my choreography consultant. Blind phone call. Didn't know. And she's like, yeah, we do it. Come to Brooklyn in Flatbush, which is where my mom was born. So it was really like, I got to Flatbush and I just started to tear up. So I was like, this is where my mom lived. And we had such a great time.
Full circle.
Yeah. I was like Shakira. I was like, my hips don't lie. And I was like, yay. And then Karima said, well, you're going to need an outfit. So she goes with me to a Middle Eastern store and of dress shop, and helps me pick out this beautiful, beautiful scarf that that I wear in the show while I'm dancing. And it's just, it really brought the story alive, and I'm so grateful. And it has peacocks on it. And when I had cancer the second time, when I was getting a lumpectomy, my director, Maris Heller, gave me a peacock for good luck. So when she saw that Karima had picked this out for me with peacocks, we were just like, it was like meant to be. I mean, it was a random phone call off the internet. And
Not random. Not at all.
And I
Not at all.
love this woman, and she was so wonderful to me. And Rocky, the woman also that had their dance studio, invited me in, and I had a private lesson, and we choreographed something beautiful, for this. And it really channeled my heritage, because when we were little, I had grown up on Long Island, and my Aunt Denise, there used to be a very big Baghdadian population, and my Aunt Denise and would have parties with belly dancers. So I was kind of like channeling my inner, Middle Eastern belly dancer. Mm-hmm. And Karima said, "You did beautifully." And if it weren't for your background, having all this and the Middle Eastern background, she said, "I think it elevated the dancing for you." And so it's been incredible. And so it's not something that I thought was going to happen, but that became part of Baggage from BaghDAD, from a celebration, of this heritage that I am from, and to celebrate being Middle Eastern, instead of when I feared it at 9/11, when I was scared to admit that I was Middle Eastern and that I was Jewish, that I celebrate my heritage. And, and even having discrimination when I grew up in the South was really hard. And that's part of the story, and not saying anything. And just, now
you're out there.
Yeah. And you have to stand up for yourself. And I think that was part of what happened with my father, is that I came out this very emotional, very, shy, very, bullied kid. And when I was little, and he always was like, you have that strength inside of you. And he always wanted me to be strong and was worried about me. But then, the cancer, and then learning about my family and those interviews really catapulted and really shaped who I am today. And I'm so grateful how the past can create the future and then help you in the present.
Absolutely well said. Meme. Guys, it's a quote. So you have filmed in the Ta-da Theater.
Yes.
And Broadway. Remember, guys, Barbara Palmer said, you are headed to Broadway, and she's going to be in the front row. Well, we can be in the front row.
Yes.
On Monday, right?
On Monday, this Monday, the 17th. And I'm so grateful. And I wanted to have a shout out to thank Emerging Artists Theater Company, which I'm a member of. And last year I was supposed to do this live, but of course things got shut down. And so they approached this year and said, well, we're filming it in the Ta-da Theater. And I'm so grateful to Ta-da and Jake and Adam, the lighting, and Kevin did the video, and Elizabeth, helped, also was instrumental in getting this together, and Paul Adams. And we were taking pictures. That's Kevin, the videographer, who's a documentarian. And then my director, Maris Heller, was with me every step of the way. And we kept tweaking the script. And Kevin took these beautiful pictures. And this was behind the scenes where we had to have masks. All of us were vaccinated, and I only took off my mask when I was performing. And we filmed it live in the theater. So it will be broadcast on 8 p.m. On this Monday, May 17th. And thank you for having me on. And then we're going to have a 20-minute live talk back. So this is a pre-recorded staged reading. And it is going to have a live talk back with myself and my director, Maris Heller, and Andrea Alton is going to be the moderator. And what I wanted to say also with this is a stage reading. So this piece is in development. So it's not a finished piece yet. And so that's what's so exciting, because it's same with the Pink Hulk. It's this journey that it goes through and rewriting and tweaking. And that's where we're at. We're in the early stages of Baggage from BaghDAD, where the Pink Hulk was back in 2015 and 16. And so now this is the show. Again, it's pre-recorded stage reading, not a finished product, but it sure is going to get there. So that's why we want people to see it and then get feedback. Because things don't happen overnight. Wicked, one of my favorite shows.
I love Wicked.
Wicked did not. It's not like all of a sudden he wrote it, Stephen Schwartz, and then the next day it's up on Broadway. It takes a lot of love and care. It's a child. It's like birthing a child. You've got to nurture it. You have to let it grow. You have to let it blossom. And that's the same thing as what's happening with Baggage from BaghDAD being in its early stages. So I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to be able to have it filmed and pre-recorded and then aired. And then we know that eventually that we're going to have live performances again. And with the Pink Hulk, I'm doing it again for the Sarah Solo Festival. And if you go to pinkhulk.com, I'll be putting that on the website at the end of May. So throughout the pandemic, I've not stopped.
No, you've been busy.
Yes, I've been doing excerpts and then having talkbacks. And it's been really, really so gratifying, with different cancer organizations, Gilda's Club and Breast Friends of Oregon. And that's the great thing about the Zoom and StreamYard and the platforms that we're in, is that people now all over the world can see your show, or as you have this amazing, service hero show and all these things that you do. I'm so grateful to be able to see it because of the platform that you have, and you've been inspiring and helping people through all this. So you're a service hero, and yourself doing the wonderful things, the tour of love.
Yes, I was going to say, I have your clip. I have your clip from the tour of love. I'm going to share this.
Funny. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Okay, guys.
I mentioned that, and boom, here
groovy.
It is.
A little bit of groovy going on right now. Let's do a little groovy.
Hi, I'm Valerie David, the writer and performer of The Pink Hulk, one woman's journey to find the superhero within. This is my solo show that chronicles my journey into becoming a 3-time cancer survivor. Woo, woo! And that is why I am on the tour of love.
Your energy is just so much fun. Tour of love. We're going to have you on the Tour of Love show. We have a Tour of Love show now. And we'll have to have you on that and have fun, some groovy time there. And so, all right. So now it's going to be an hour reading, pre-recorded. Mm-hmm. And then that period of time after, that magic time where people can question and answer. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Now, there's 3 different tiers. So if someone wants to watch this, they can watch, guys, entry for $10 to watch a Broadway solo performance. That $10, $15, or $20. So what are the differences of the, what's the difference?
I think it's really a great thing that, and it's part of the New Work series for Emerging Artist Theater Company. Again, I thank Paul and Elizabeth, and also shout out to Vanessa and we're putting all the credits, thank you credits, on the film. So I hope I'm mentioning everyone's names, but you will see the thank yous and all the people involved. There's so many. And I think what's important is that with the economy the way that it is, that there's 3 tiers of what you can afford to pay. And I think that's really important, where the tiers are 10, 15, and 20. So it's whatever that you feel comfortable with. And I think that's also a wonderful thing with this. And, we're raising money for the theater to keep going and coming back, and emerging artists to keep going with their programming, because I've been a member since 2007, and I'm so grateful to be a part of that theater company. And there are other and if you go to the website, there are other shows, not just mine, that I'm encouraging everybody to see, that are on each Monday, starting this month, all the way through the end of the month. So I encourage not just my show, but for you to see other shows. And I wanted to see if I can pull up some of the shows, the New Work series. There's just so many great programming for the New Work series, and I'm just Googling it right now. New Work series.
I want to just shout out to your company, to your theater company also. And as we're talking and coming around full circle on all of this, in this period of time right now, we have the lessons of history to learn and to remind us. And thank goodness we have the good people of today, that, like your theater company, that are saying, okay, we're in this situation right now. How can we transform it, and so that possibly we can bring New York theater to the world? Where Tamara L. Hunter, who has always loved theater since I was a child, and I have yet to go to New York, to Broadway. I have always, that is on my bucket list. Someday I will be there. I will be there with Barbara Palmer, front row center. Yes.
And we are going to go out and disco. We are going to have a great time.
Woohoo! Absolutely. Yet, this coming Monday, May the 17th, I can actually attend a Broadway show. I can watch my friend Valerie David in her solo reading of a show that's evolving. So be a part of history, of telling history.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And
I want to point the bright light, the good light, on the fact that we can make a difference every single day by showing up. And Valerie is showing up, her theater company is showing up and providing this show. And then you were saying that there's others.
Right. And I also wanted to say, for people who don't know what a staged reading is, you're actually reading from a script. It's not memorized. So because people will go, what's a staged reading? It's a staged reading where you're reading from the script, but you're acting it out and having choreography and things. And so there's 3 shows. One starting tonight, The Exorcism of The Exorcism of Violet Ward, then Baggage from Baghdad, then the 24th, an evening of theater and dance, and then Doris Day, A Sentimental Journey. So those are each Monday. So I recommend all of them.
Oh, yes.
And to support, the EAT and be a part of these developing stories, because it's newworkseries.com, and it's because it's new works in development. So it's an incubator. It's an incubator.
I love that. Guys, this is, I'm loving this. Service heroes all. Let's just say it. Service heroes all, because being able to bring theater to all of us out here in an affordable price, where then we as the audience are able to support it and have it continue, and the incubator to be incubating these projects, so that then at some point when they're out there mainstream on the stage, it would be like, yeah, I was a part of that. How cool is that?
Yes.
Oh
And
my
and
goodness.
it's so exciting. And the Pink Hulk was part of the New Work series back in the day. So it was wonderful when it was live and we had the audience. Now we'll have the talk back, but the audience gave suggestions or, said, well, I wanted to know more about this. And, in the Pink Hulk, I had to drop out of a show that ended up going to Broadway. So then they're like, well, you're going to have to sing from that show, where, which was Urinetown. And so I got permission from the creators of Urinetown to have a snippet singing in the Pink Hulk that I do. And I was really grateful for that. So, because I had to, start chemo for the lymphoma when I was cast in the original staged reading of Urinetown. So, and it's just, and if you want to get in touch with me, it's pinkhulkplay.com and pinkhulkplay@gmail.com. And Tamara, I'm so, honored to be a part of this, and I can't wait for you and Barbara to come. And I know you've got a big move coming up, and wanted to wish you well on that. I know you're starting, a new chapter in your life, and it's going to be wonderful. And I appreciate you having me in the midst of all that you have to do. That's amazing. To still have me on as a guest with all you have to do and how busy you are. And I really am truly grateful, and I thank you.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I want to support you in what you're doing. And guys, please, let's do that. Let's get our tickets. So to get a ticket for this event that's taking place on May the 17th, what do we do?
You go to newworkseries.com and you're going to see 4 squares of each show starting tonight. And when you pull it up, you'll actually see Baggage from BaghDAD, and you'll click on that to buy tickets. And they're all these orange little logo, like, the little orange thing that's in white says tickets. And then you just click on that. And then you can get the tickets and any tier that you feel comfortable with, and know that you're benefiting the theater company, the New Work series, for them to keep going. And right now we need these stories told. We need more stories out there to be told on any kind of genre. We need theater to keep going.
Yes, live theater. Yeah. Please support live theater in every which way. I will tell you this. That's one of the things that, thank goodness I was brought up in a home that we have the Old Globe in San Diego, and we would go down to Balboa Park. We had the amphitheater there. We'd go up to, Hollywood, and there was always a real strong culture in my family to support theater, because theater is our ability to keep those inspiring messages and the stories to be told. I love movies. I love song, all of the above, because it all has its place. We only have a minute left. What would you like to leave everybody? What thought?
Oh, that's a great question. Hello. The thought that I would like to leave everyone is that, we all have our own stories, and to be encouraged to write your own story, to keep history alive. Record your grandparents, record your parents. If we don't do that, the stories die with them, right? So if we don't have that, if I didn't have this recording of my family, these stories would be lost. And so I think it's really important to keep your family history alive and pass down to generations, because their stories inspired me and helped me with my cancers. And I truly do believe that. And I feel that if we know our history, where our grandparents came from, did they come through Ellis Island? Did they, like, we need to understand our history to understand ourselves.
I love it. With that said, we're out for today. Come back on Wednesday.
Thank you. Yes,
and support the show.